me reclaiming my health, that set off a domino effect that changed my life. It changed my lineage. Black peoples have a severed connection to the past and the future. So we're stuck in the present.
Let's say someone is saying, I'm going to practice Kemetic yoga, I'm going to practice these indigenous practices. But if it's
Mm.
not on good ground, aka environment, what is the likelihood of actually surviving?
Everybody's talking about deep breathing and peaceful this, but nobody's talking about how my heart rate changes when a cop car pulls behind me. I wanted to thrive because that's our birthright. Yeah, they tried to bury us, not realizing that we were seeds.
You're listening to Raphaella IG, a podcast about spirituality, mental and emotional health, and the real stories of everyday people finding their way back to themselves. I am Raphaella Silva. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Raphaella IG. My name is Raphaella Silva, and I'm very excited that you're here for another episode of my podcast. Today, I have an amazing and special guest with us. His name is Ramsses. And Ramsses is a freedom guide, mentor, and lifelong student teacher of self mastery, committed to holistic healing. He shares the wisdom of Kemetic and Smayutawi Egyptian yoga, which are African rooted practices that nurture mind, body, and spirit. With a deep inner drive, Ramses dedicates his life to helping others activate and reclaim their ancestral brilliance. His grounded yet transformative approach guides people inward to uncover hidden truths and reconnect with the divine love of self that resides within. A U.S. Navy veteran with 10 years of service, thank you for your services. Ramsses also carries a strong background in Western medicine, having worked extensively as a surgical first assistant in orthopedics and neurospine. This unique blend of clinical knowledge and spiritual practice allows him to bridge the worlds of science and soul, offering holistic path of healing and empowerment. Ramsses, welcome. Wow.
Did you write that?
I don't know. I think you wrote that. I think you lived this.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, that guy sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I mean, it's so many layers here, so many layers.
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive right in. So I'll start from the beginning, because I'm assuming because where you are now is where you are. We're gonna get to that. Um, but what was that shift for you from Western to I gotta live a life that has a more holistic approach? Or was the holistic always there? So I'm here making an assumption.
I first of all, thank you for inviting me on your platform and podcast, and you're doing beautiful work, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So thank you. It's wonderful to be here, just to be able to share our stories and share space and just using our voices for the benefit of the greater good. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Um, I think that holistic living is innately who we are from the beginning. As we're born, as we're created, like we're created these divine individuals, and then we get programmed to believe, think, feel, see something else. Um, I think innately, I always had like this, there's got to be more. I think, as Black peoples, I think a lot of us are living in these existences, obviously that we're not supposed to live under. And there's something inside of us that is like, there's got to be more to this. There's got to be more. I'm not supposed to, just even on a surface level, I am not supposed to be living this life. Like I'm supposed to be doing greater things. Um, even I'll say in my early days, like I was a wild cowboy. I didn't love myself. I was just out there like living very destructively. Um, and even the multiple things that I had survived let me know, like the next morning, you know what? I think I'm supposed to be doing something better with my life. I don't know what yet, but there's no way, like, why am I still here? You know? And then in 2016, I was diagnosed with a tennis ball sized brain tumor. And, this was while I was working in the medical field, the surgical field, and, checking off all the boxes of life. And from the outside looking in, my life was very successful. But, I was just an empty shell of this Black man. Um, and nobody knew. Like, I was a professional at wearing masks. I was a professional at smiling. I was a professional at not letting you know how bad off I was,
Mm.
or just how bad things were going internally for me. So I had that, a procedure to remove the tumor. It was like a 10-hour long procedure, and they got what they could, most of it. I'm healthy. I'm healthy, so uh, thanks source for that. But for me, like after that, I just started asking, like that gave me a pause, like because at that time in my life, it was full of chaos, like internal chaos and extra, which manifested in external chaos. So I was like just trying to manage that. So at the time of the surgery, I did not, and then this is truthfully speaking, I did not really care if I woke up. Like
Mm.
woke up to the chaos that was waiting for me after this anesthesia wore off. Um, and then when I did wake up, like I just had this, I was like, it was almost like a reset. And I was like, something's got to change. It didn't happen immediately. Like, I was still living this wild existence and making it look good. And I was very successful, but like, I was just unhealthy, mentally, physically, spiritually. And then in 2019, I was married at the time, and my spouse, she started this health and wellness program for herself, right? She's a pharmacist, and she started this program for herself because she was like, you know what, I need to get myself in order, because it is mostly women who are like, you know what, I need to do for me. I need to fix me. I need to do this. They're the ones going to the retreats. They're the ones getting the massages and self-care and everything. So that was her. And she started this program. It was working for her. And then I saw her and I was like, wow, that's like really working. And so she ended up started coaching it, and I was her first client. Like it's always the women that are saving us. So I was like the first test, and it worked so well. Like it was the most comprehensive wellness program that I had ever experienced in my life. And in 1 year, I ended up losing 100 pounds naturally by changing my habits. That's what the program was about. It changes your mindset first, and then you gradually change habits, which gradually turns into lifestyle, which is sustainable. And that's what we want in our life, right? Sustainable things. So that was the catalyst. That was the change, me reclaiming my health. That set off a domino effect that changed my life. It changed it changed my lineage. Like that self-love. It helped me reconnect. When we talked originally, I talked about the severed through line that Black peoples have, a severed connection to the past and the future. So we're stuck in the present. But with this like self-love, like I have to do for me, and also realizing that my life did not just belong to me, it belonged to everybody that came before me and everybody that's going to come after me. And so, yeah, that me reclaiming my health was the start to all of that. I think that was the greatest thing. No, I don't think. I know that is the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves as humans is, and as people of the diaspora, is to reclaim our health, uh, if we want to do anything in this world. So that's the long story
No, I love it.
of
Thank you so much for those, for that many details. I always say when we feel better, we think better, right?
yeah,
So sometimes taking a hold of our health so that we can, our body begins to function a little bit different. We can do a little bit more. We can see things a little bit more clear and even
yeah,
receive messages that is going to let us know what's the next step, right? If we're not feeling
mm,
good, if
mm,
we're not, we can't receive anything because all of that's in the way of, of us receiving, of us knowing. That's why I say sometimes starting with your physical health is a start because it's the
yeah,
most I would like to say feasible because we can get up and do something. We can, begin to change, but begin to think different sometimes might take a
yeah,
minute, right? Because if I'm not feeling okay, I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to receive anything. I'm not, you know what I mean? So that's fantastic. And how did you begin to look at your practice differently when you begin to, look at how it changed you, how
so
you begin to look at your practice differently?
yeah, so as I was going through these changes, I did not have a practice. Like this was very surface level. This was just me just wanting to feel better in my body. And like I said, it started that domino effect of like now I have some clarity just
Mm,
like in my life. I have some peace. I have some, and another big shift was, I had that clarity. And so I'm asking myself questions like, what am I doing? What am I doing in my life? Like, who am I surrounding myself with? And this is actually part of the program that I was doing. One of the components was environment. Um, and it has you take a look at like who you're surrounding yourself with, like who are you spending the most of your time with. That's eventually what you're going to become in some form, or it's going to really shape you. And I was like looking around my coworkers, and I'm like, nah, this ain't it. Um, and so I ended up leaving the medical field, and then that just because I reclaimed. That's another thing. So I reclaimed my health
hmm
by leaving the medical field and starting a wellness business of my own. I reclaim my time. Uh, and so those are one of the three components that I kind of coach about like total freedom and liberation. First is your health. Second is your time. So I reclaim my time, and then that just gave me more space to ask myself more questions, like who am I? Who was I? What type of man am I? Do I like who I see when I look in the mirror? Not just physically, but energetically and spiritually. And like, what type of black man am I? What does masculinity mean to me? Like all of these questions that I now had space to ask myself. Um, and again, it goes back to that domino effect. Like once you start pulling that string on the tapestry, it's like it all keeps going down. And it's also a choice, like because now you're entering into like you're having to process things, and like in that pause came processing. And now I'm like revisiting these emotions and feelings and thoughts, and that's a whole nother thing. And so that's a where that leads into like a healing journey and things like that. So reclaiming my health, like I just needed something to rebuild my body basically. And so I just tried yoga, and I did not know about comedic yoga or anything. Like I didn't know anything about that. I was just like men yoga, and I started with like a 5 minute YouTube video, of some guy, some westernized, the most westernized yoga YouTube video you can find. That's what I found, and that's what I started with. And then I realized immediately the physical benefits of yoga, because I was like, oh yeah, my body needs this. I realized how inflexible that I was. And um, there's many layers to that. Uh, Diving into to like the emotions and everything that we keep in our body keeps us tight and protects us. Um, and then through, many months of going through like westernized yoga and not seeing representation, not feeling, everybody's talking about one love in class and this and that, but I'm not feeling one love when I step out the classroom. Like everybody's talking about deep breathing and peaceful this, but nobody's talking about how my heart rate changes when a cop car pulls behind me. And nobody wants to hear about it either. And if I do bring it up, nobody understands. And so these are all leaving microcuts uh, on me and in me. And so I realized that I needed to find some other form of medicine. I loved yoga, but I knew I needed to find some other form of it that spoke to me, that resonated with me. And so that started my journey into just like searching for that African based medicine that spoke to me, whatever it was, but something ancestral, something that our grandmothers would have taught us, something that, in the villages. Uh, and that's where, that's what led me to Kemetic yoga and Smai and just like an African, um, more Afrocentric mindset, more, Afrofuturism, more coming within, more unapologetic blackness. Like that was part of it. Like I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my parents sent me to a white Christian private school. Like I didn't know blackness. Uh, I had no clue. I took on a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air persona out of survival. I mean, it sounds funny, but the more that I like really went to the root cause on things, like I realized how much survival uh, I needed in those environments. That's a whole nother that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, Kemetic yoga, Kemetic spirituality, just all things Afrocentric. Um, that's what I'm a student of, and I think those are some of the missing pieces to our total freedom and total liberation and total healing. That's what's going to take us to those other places that we need to go, like those higher realms.
Fantastic. I do have a two-part question on yoga.
Yes. Hmm.
Um, why was your first, the first question is, why was yoga the first thing that you reached for? Um,
Hmm.
because it's very unusual for a black man. I'm gonna start doing better. I think yoga
I've
will
got a
be
I've got a very simple answer for you.
okay.
I'll go ahead and answer it. My wife at the time was South
Mhm.
Asian Indian.
Ah, okay.
And so she was always in my ear, yoga, yoga, yoga,
Got
yoga.
it.
And so finally I was just like, okay, let me see what this is about.
Got it. Okay.
And immediately I was like, oh, okay. Now I see.
Perfect, because it's a very unusual thing. Like, if I'm going to
Yeah,
choose one
yeah.
thing, I'm going to choose yoga. And the
I
second
mean,
part,
I didn't start there. I didn't
Mhm.
start there. Trust and believe. I didn't start there. Like so many men, we're not listening to the advice of, yeah. And so it was like a last resort kind of thing. And it was actually because I had hurt myself in the gym, like severely,
Mm.
doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing, thinking like thinking I'm 25 and just gonna, oh, I'm a man, I'm gonna get in shape. Let me do this. And no, I got hurt very bad. And so, like I said, I needed something to truly rebuild my body from the bottom. Um, and so yeah, I gave it a shot, and I'll forever be grateful. And it was so much medicine for me. I saw, and so yoga, yes, yoga as a whole is an ancient practice, and it is medicine. It's medicine. But Kemetic yoga, for me, is is our medicine.
So let's talk about kinetic yoga. That was the
Yeah.
second part of the
Yeah.
question. For those people that don't know what
Hmm.
kinetic yoga, because a lot of people hear kinetic yoga and they have
Hmm.
no idea of what it is and why is it called kinetic? Because all they connect to is Egyptian. It's like, what's it? Is it
Yeah.
Egypt? So talk a little bit about kinetic yoga and also Smai Tai
Montawi,
yoga.
yes.
What are the difference between the two? What are they? What is the difference
Hmm.
between that and Western yoga? Um,
Hmm.
Give us a little bit of history about that.
Yeah. Well, Kemetic yoga, so we talk about ancient Egypt in modern day times, and before it was called Egypt, and we're talking about the Nile Delta Valley and all that whole civilization. Before it was called Egypt, it was called Kemet or Kim. Egypt is actually the Greek name. When we talk about Isis and Osiris and Thoth, those are all the Greek names. For thousands and thousands of years before it was known Egypt, it was called Kim, or the land of the black, or the black land. And that can mean several different things. It can mean because of the color of the skin of the people of that area. It could mean because of the rich black fertile soil that inundated the land from the flooding of the Nile every year. And the Nile is truly the only reason that that civilization was able to thrive in the way that it was, having a reliable source of water, annual flooding that brought in this fertile land. uh, Abundance was truly able to be reached. So yeah, and they were in harmony. They had a spiritual system that was in harmony with the world around them. And this was based on the principles of Ma'at. She had the balance, um, oh my goodness, balance, truth, justice, reciprocity, compassion. And it's these principles that basically hold the essence of the universe together. It's what brings balance and harmony to the world around us. It's basically nature. Nature has found a balance and finds balance. And the people of Kemet, they studied nature, they studied the world around them. And the word nature actually originates from the word netter. And the netters are the gods and goddesses. So when we talk about the gods and goddesses that they were, worshiping, we say worship. In their eyes, they were just paying homage. They were being in harmony with them. And so they had a spiritual practice that were based on the laws of Ma'at. I don't know if you've heard of those, but
I have.
it was basically 42 laws, and in some instances there were even 77 laws of divine order. Um, but the civilization was based off of these laws, and they are what it wasn't about like, I need to recruit you to make sure that you're doing, living based on the laws of Ma'at or in harmony with Ma'at. Like it's a bit a personal journey. It's you do it because you want to. It's you do it because you see and feel the difference. Um, like, so when people come to me and they're like, I just see a complete difference in your life. Like, what are you doing? I kind of equate it to like, uh, if you're walking down the street at night and you see this club like across the street and the club is like real hot, like I'm gonna go across, I'm like, wow, it looks really great over there. The music sounds great, everybody's having fun and it's really peaceful. I'm gonna go see what it's about. Like if your club is hot, I don't need to recruit you. You're just going to come in. So Kemetic yoga is based on these principles. They're based on each pose and posture is based on a god or goddess and what they represent, what they like, their characteristics, their qualities. So when we get into a pose, when we get into a posture, when we go through a sequence, um, they're basically metaphors for life. Like we are embodying what they represent. So like we get into the pose of Osset or Isis. She represents the divine feminine. She represents divine wisdom, intuition, self-love, all of these. And so you're embodying this, you're breathing it in, you're exhaling stress and anxiety and depression and self-doubt, and you're inhaling all of her qualities and you're becoming her, and like each and every cell you're sending it to it. And so that's and then we get into like another pose, like the pose of Asar or Osiris, and he represents the divine masculine. He represents groundedness and rootedness, a strong spine and just like upright living. And so we embody that. We breathe in those divine qualities. And you'll notice how we have goddess poses and we have God poses, masculine and feminine. So we're having balance in our lives. And I am embracing my feminine aspects, which help me enhance the masculine as well, where we're bringing balance. So I'm learning about this as we're going through the practice. So it's helping me unlock inner genius. It's helping me redefine masculinity. It's helping me reconnect with the ancestor within. It's helping me breathe and move and think with intention. And it's this complete system of regeneration on every level, whether it be physical, whether it be spiritual. Um, you're going to benefit in some form or fashion. And it just so happened for me, it changed my entire life. It saved my entire life, and that's why now I dedicate my life to just sharing the practice and sharing the wisdoms, and it's been a beautiful journey.
I love that. It's interesting that, well, two things are really interesting that I started thinking about as you were talking. I love the idea of the embodiment of the poses. And what it reminded me of is like in Yoruba tradition, I grew up in Candomblé, Umbanda in Brazil, which are Afro indigenous practices, and when I taught dance, when I used to teach dance, one of the things that I used to teach was the dance of the Orishas. And the dance of the Orishas were really a story that we
Yeah.
were um like our movements was actual story. So like for example,
Mm.
if you're dancing Ogun, which is the Orisha of war and metal and technology, right? We would do movements of the story of Ogun leaving and open up the path for his people. So he has a machete and he's cutting the grass low because when you cut high grass, you cut it at the bottom, not at the top. And so we're cutting the grass low, and then he comes to see his enemies, and so all the movements are based on a story of who they are, and we incorporate that story.
It's
um
funny you mentioned that a friend of mine who's initiated, she has told me on several occasions that I have Ogun energy.
I can see it.
So yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. And how you mentioned the embodiment and the story, the myth. That can segue into Smai Tawi and how it's different
Mm,
from Kemetic Yoga. So Kemetic Yoga itself, like the name, is actually trademarked, and it was a brother, Yasir Rahotep in Chicago, that actually created this and put it together, and like so that's his system. Now there's Smai Tawi, which is more of the actual spiritual, like thousands and thousands of year old spiritual practice, and it is a system of about 27 movements that go along with the Asarian resurrection myth story.
mm,
So you're going from the time before creation when we're just spirit, we're Ka, and then we're coming into we're new, the waters of noon. We're born out of that into Nefertum, the divine child, and so we sit there, and then we come up into we're separating Nut, the heavens, and Geb, the earth, as we embody Shu. So we're pressing up against the heavens and pressing against Geb. And then we're working through this system until we reach death again. and we finish in a mummy pose or a sahu pose where we're visualizing wrapping ourselves in like precious, basically every movement that we went through is medicine, and we're wrapping ourselves in those bandages of medicine to travel on to the next, to the underworld, to the duat. But they're both powerful practices. They are both medicine, and I teach and practice both. And I've even, I even they're great separately, but you when you make you find what works for you. And so I kind of teach what I call Afrofuture yoga, which is like a combination of both of them. But because I see these practices as ancient technologies because they are, and they're like I consider them part of Afrofuturism. Just those ancient practices of our past that if we adopt them, will help us envision a brighter future for ourselves, and not just a future like grandkids' future, but like 7 generations ahead, uh, kind of future. Um, like some Octavia Butler kind of future stuff.
I love that because one of the things I was thinking about as you talked about, and then as a third part to this question, because what I see happening right now for everyone is that we're being asked to go back, kind of like Sankofa, go
Mhm.
back and fetch.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of things that is going to help us going forward is to go back, meaning we have to go back to our indigenous practices before it was cut off. What was it that we were practicing? What is it that we were doing before it was cut off from us? But it's cut off in quotes because I think it still lives within our DNA system.
Oh,
And at
absolutely.
some
Yeah.
point, it's going to emerge. I always say it's like a plant. You cut off the plant, you make roads, but if you don't continue to add, what do you call it, that black thing to the road, guess what's going to come out of that? Plants.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
tiniest little thing going through that really rough, texture or the rough surface, it's still very delicate but it's still going to push its way up, right? So I
Yeah.
believe that those things live within us, and no matter what it is that you create outside of us, that's still going to emerge whether you like it or not. So I like that you're connecting that. You're saying, look, the future depends on the past.
Yeah.
So I
You
love
know,
that you're
they
merging those two things.
yeah, they tried to bury us, not realizing that we were seeds.
Mm. I
And
love that.
that goes back to like Octavia Butler. I love Octavia Butler
Mm.
and her like Earth when in her books talking about Earth seed and how we are like these seeds of Earth. And in her books, Parable of the Talents and Parable of the Sower, I highly recommend both of those books. I travel with them. They were a pivotal change they were a pivotal turning point in my leaving the United States to to live, and that's a whole nother segue. But um, yeah, going back to the past, all of those things that were intentionally taken away from us because they were so powerful. You truly have to question everything that our oppressors allowed us to have. Like they took everything. They took the coal out of our refrigerators but there's certain things that they allowed us to have out of the goodness of their hearts. Question all of those things, um, because like there's a reason, and then there's a reason why even within our own communities, some of these things we're going back to are so frowned upon, are demonized, are just yeah. I mean, even your lineage. Uh, in the state more on the ground where indigenously it comes from, it's more accepted and understood and things like that. But like as us as Black Americans having gone through that system, it's totally different. And then having the organized religion uh, mindsets that we have, I'll just say Christianity mindsets, it doesn't allow us to have an openness to even entertain the idea of, oh, well, maybe I'm not saying I'm going to subscribe to it, but let me just listen to see what they have. Um, just being open, and that's one thing that Kemetic yoga taught me. Well, Kemetic yoga and Smai Tawi, it allowed me to gain a broader vision. What they call it, a cosmic perspective, and see myself in it, see myself without it. How can I, be in it? All of these things. So yes, going back to go forward.
I love it. And you said something that was interesting, which it kind of segues into what you're about to segue into. And now what I was about to ask you, and I'm gonna use Octavia Butler as an example, Parable of the Sower. Um, so this is the question. And he mentioned seeds because we are the seeds, right? But the parable of the sower, I haven't read that book, but when you talked about the parable of the sower, I thought about uh, the one in the Bible where when you plant the seeds, the seeds that fall on different grounds. And
Mhm.
if the seed is not falling on good ground, then it dries up and die. And
Yeah.
so I want to segue into, let's say someone is saying, I'm going to practice Kemetic yoga. I'm going to practice these indigenous practices. But if it's
Mm.
not on good ground, aka environment, what is the likelihood of actually surviving? So,
Yeah.
is that the reason? Well, maybe one of the reasons as to why you left the US, so that what you were creating, what you were bringing, could be in good and fertile ground that it can thrive and bring forth fruits and all those things. Is that the reason why you left?
That's exactly one of the numerous reasons why I left, but a culmination of all of them. Um, I just made a post the other day. I saw this beautiful flower. I was outside and I took a picture of it. And it's just like, plant yourself in environments that are going to allow you to bloom. Like, you can think of it as an actual seed, and you can just throw seeds out on the concrete and sit there and expect them to bloom, or you can get a potted plant, get some nice, cool, dark, rich, moist soil, and a little bit of water, a little bit of sunlight, and really take care of it and watch that seed thrive. Like, it doesn't take much. It just takes the right uh, parts of ingredient. And throughout part of my healing journey in the States, it's like I would take 2 steps forward and then get knocked 3 steps back constantly, every day, in every situation. Like, I am trying. I am actively trying. There are brothers out there who don't are still just like, we don't know. Um, but I have a little bit of awakening and a little bit of like, okay, this is what needs to happen. I got to get out of here. Like, I see what's going on and I'm trying to like make it happen. And I realized, I looked around me and I'm just like, this environment does not want me to thrive. Like, this environment actually does not want me to survive. It's not made for it. I'm seeing how we are treated in the healthcare. And then I start studying all of these systems of the United States. The education system wasn't made for us in mind. The healthcare system wasn't made with us in mind. The financial system wasn't made with us in mind. Every single system of the United States was not made with us in mind. We are an afterthought. Like, we have to remember that we were property, not people, in their eyes as they were building this government as they were building that country, that nation. Um,
And I still believe we are, but
yeah, no, we absolutely are. Let's not mince words. Like we are absolutely like once you initiate taking away basic freedom, like life and freedom away from a people, like you can't go back from that. You can't just say, oops, I'm sorry, let's go on. You can even attempt, but like there's no attempt. So yeah, so I needed to, it was I among those questions of my like just transformation was like, what am I willing to do to for my survival? And when you're on the plane, it's like um and the plane's going down, like you got to put that mask on yourself first. Like you got to take care of yourself first. And I just realized like I was going insane, literally insane. And as I was going insane, like I realized because I just have this student mindset, I'm studying my own spiraling and I'm like I'm observing and I'm seeing it's almost slowing down like a car crash. I just became more aware of things, and I'm just like, no, there's no way that I can survive. Like this is not a winning situation at all. Even when it looks like we're winning, like I call those signals of success or signals of progress. Like they're just illusions. They're just illusions, and I was realizing that I wasn't being fed, I wasn't being nourished. Everything that I was chasing, whether it be job, family, finances, sense of self, false sense of manhood, all of these things, like they I needed more and I needed to actually go on a journey. I needed to actually go on like a rites of passage. And that's one thing that has been taken away from, I think, the journey of a black man is a rites of passage, like that ceremony, those initiations that take us from being boys into being men. Um, Today's rites of passage as a black man is like how, like honestly, it's like how real are we talking on this
it was real
video?
as look, it's Rafa said it here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
as real as
So
you
like
want
the
me.
initiation of a boy to a man in the States is like when you realize that the word nigger, they're talking about you and like everything that encompasses. It encompasses like being asked where you're going. It encompasses police stops. It encompasses like purses being tucked tightly. It encompasses all of that. Like we'll just call that the black experience in America. All the little micro cuts, all of that. And yeah, I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. And I needed to go on a journey to find who I was, to be able to breathe, to be able to just like really, truly like find out who I was before they named me. And if you really think about that, like who was I before all of the oppression, before all of the conditioning, before like who am I in my most divine form? Like and I needed to find that out. There's an old story of like this old monastery, and they had this Buddha that was uh, encased in like this mud and everything, and they were moving it because there was a storm, and one of the monks accidentally dropped the Buddha, and it chipped away, and they realized there was this shining golden Buddha at the core, and they started chipping away and chipping away and chipping away, and they had this for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, passing it down. And then they finally get to the most brilliant golden statue of this Buddha. Um, and the metaphor of that is like we're these brilliant divine beings when we're born, but over time, over generations, you know, we pass down this protection out of survival. And, you know, it looks differently for everybody, but that's what I needed to do. I needed to go chip away at all of that mud, all of that concrete, all of that that thing that I had packed myself in as protection, that which most of it didn't even belong to me. Like it was things that my parents taught me to keep me safe. It was things that their parents taught them to keep them safe, and their parents taught them to keep them safe. And I didn't want to be safe. Like I wanted to live. I didn't want to survive. I wanted to thrive. As I wanted to thrive because that's our birthright. And I realized that also thriving and freedom and health, those are the greatest things that we can pass down. Like that's our greatest inheritance that we can pass down. And it's part of that generational kind of thing. And it helps us redefine like what's really important in life. I used to think that all the things were important, you know, all the cars and houses and all that stuff. And it wasn't until like I shrunk my life down to like 3 or 4 suitcases and I'm just like sitting on the beach in Costa Rica drinking a coconut and I see like a monkey in the tree and like, you know, I realized I was truly wealthy. And like I realized like what true abundance is. And it's freedom and it's knowing thyself. Um, because I know myself, it doesn't matter what others like think of me. They lose power over me because like their games and their gimmicks and their tricks and like none of that works anymore. It's like that old commercial for trick cereal, like
Yeah.
silly rabbit tricks are for kids. Like, you know, no more tricks.
Well, there is an ethos saying that it goes something like this: when truth is present, the lies has to walk away. It has no, it can't stay there, you know? And I always say when
No.
people are living in their true authenticity, who they are, I don't care what you say, it's not going to stick, it's not going to impact. There's no, you have, the light has no power over anything
Yeah.
that is showing up authentic in this world, being who they
Mhm.
are. And I love, and we're going to segue into something else, but I love that you said, I love the Buddha story, you know, the chipping away, and chipping away,
Yeah.
because every time that I will look at a black man, and I used to always say this was a blessing and sometimes a curse. Um, I was always able to see that golden Buddha in every black man that I encountered because I used to always, you know, look through through their spirit. And every time I look at their spirit, I would say, wow, look at the beauty that's within. But there's all these layers of all the stuff that they, you know, and I knew that society planted those things there. I was 100% aware. The reason why I said a curse is because I had the silly idea of attempting, wanting to chip that away. But
Let
that's
me
not,
help you.
let
Let
me
me
just
help you,
break this
baby.
down
Let me help
really
you.
quick. Let me
No,
just
like
tell
this.
you.
Just do
Look.
this.
And you're like, so like I was hitting a big rock with a small hammer, like, girl,
Yeah.
please, you're never,
Never gonna do
no,
it.
never going to do it. And so, and it's funny because I always think that the chipping away is from the inside out,
Mhm.
not from the outside in. And so, you're chipping that away yourself, like you're breaking the hammer from the inside. Um,
Well, and you know, you can chip away from the inside as well, by changing your vibration.
mhm.
You know, if you have a low vibration, you're not vibrating. It's easy to pack on all that bullshit. But when you change your vibration, when you raise your vibration, like you start vibrating, and then you resonate at a different
Mhm.
frequency, and like you have self-love and all the self-doubt and all of the, reassurance, and connecting with the ancestors and eating right and deep breathing and sleeping and saying yes to self and leaving that relationship that no longer serves you, and you start saying yes to all of these things that are helping you raise your vibration.
Yeah.
Eventually you'll start to see, and this is also like a metaphor for like raising your vibration in your life. And you may see that the friends around you aren't the same friends that you started your journey with. Like people may be looking at you side-eyed, the closest ones to you, and like, oh, who does she think she is? She's changing and this and that. And I don't like how she's acting around me now. And it's like, what I'm truly doing is saying yes to myself. What I'm truly
Mhm.
doing is showing what self-love look like, and you're just projecting because it's making you feel a certain way that things aren't happening in your life. Anyway, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
We need
Always.
like a 5-part
I
series
know, right?
to this podcast.
I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk about something you mentioned earlier, which is something
Mhm.
that I've been in my space for many years now, which is the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Um, I believe that the divine feminine is, I like to say, uprising. When I say uprising, meaning we're going back to restoring that back to ourselves, right? Because it's kind of been dormant. Not that it was absent, but it's just been dormant within all of us. But I want to talk about specifically when it comes to the Black man. Because the moment you begin to talk about divine feminine, their whole, because of the show, because of what they've been, taught, they're like, what you mean? I don't got no feminine, the idea of femininity or the feminine energy that lives within them, whether they they want to believe it or not, accept it or not, is there, is present. But it's not, it's dormant, right? So talk to us a little bit about what does it look like for Black men to have that balance, to have the divine feminine being honored as well as the divine masculine.
Well, it it feels like peace. It feels like understanding. It feels like a nurturing. It feels like it feels just like an understanding, like you're whole. It's a wholeness. Like truly, it's a wholeness because that's what it is. Like it brings that balance to self. Um, it's empowering. It makes you look at the feminine differently. It makes you maybe address some mother wounds, like Black mama wounds. Like holy moly. Um, it brings understanding of what Black women have had to go through to survive. It gives a new appreciation for them and their beauty. And I'm speaking for me, for like myself. Like I can't, this is my interpretation of what it has done for me in my journey. Um, to like be carried and brought into this world, when we talk about Osset and that divine love, that first love, the love of a Black woman for the Black man is the first love that we receive in this world, and being brought into, no matter what the circumstances, like still being brought into this world. Like not every circumstance is ideal like that. But understanding where all of my anger and frustration and self-doubt and all of this stuff, it made me realize that So I was brought up Church of Christ, and all the woman obey you just realize how the feminine has been suppressed. Like you see it. I saw it. I can't again because I see things within the highest intentions of spiritual practices where women are still being oppressed, um, in the name of, like, we're still talking here, but in the name of like Black empowerment. Like there's still major suppression of women, and especially in religion. Um, like it's not good. Um, and so you realize that you just need both. Like you aren't whole. You realize how you can be hyper masculine and it just causes this imbalance. And you can't, we have learned to function that way. And for me, it helped me realize, the privileges that I was operating in my Black masculinity, even though I was still being heavily oppressed within the community and within like the Blackness, I was still operating under this privilege, this male masculine privilege. Um, and embracing the feminine aspects of myself, uh, I saw I saw myself in women. I saw like I was a part of them. They are me, I am them. And I saw how I was like I had to check myself, on some of the things that I was doing in the name of in the name of good, like in the name of with the highest, but I still there was some sort of, oppression and suppression, about it. And at the end of it, I wanted to be the best whole individual that I could be. And, you know, like stated in the beginning, the poses of the masculine and the feminine, I realized how equally as powerful they were. And to be whole, like I needed both because I am both. And just logically thinking, like we come from women, like life comes from women. Why would you not want to protect that at all costs in all forms and fashions? Like why would you not want her to be celebrated and upheld and put on a pedestal in the most healthiest way, right? Um, and then that made me look at the systems of like why? Why are women being suppressed so much? Like, why is their magic being, taken away, stripped away so much? And it's because you're the most powerful beings on this planet, I believe. You carry the legacy of life, and that shows how important you are. That shows how the universe sees you in their eyes. It's like, okay, this she is she is most honorable enough to be the protector of life. She is trustworthy enough and divine enough to carry this seed, to carry knowledge, to carry the whispers of the ancestors, to carry the herbal remedies, to carry the stories, the to carry like to carry the birthmarks of life. Um, and those birthmarks of life, like they tell a story. And yeah, for me, like I just realized the importance of y'all, and I thank y'all.
That
I
was
thank you.
beautiful.
You're
Thank
part of
you.
it.
Yes, thank you. It's interesting as you were talking, a lot of times people miss one thing that is in the Bible, and they mistake this a lot, right? And I used to make these jokes about, you know, because when in the Bible it says where God created male and female created them, right? And this is what I believe. I think to me, what I how I interpret that is we're just one. That's it. We're just one. what God is saying is in the Bible was, hey, both of you, whether you going to be a man or a woman, you carry both male and female within you. Male and female them. Like this is who you are. And you're right, that imbalance then begins to shift, right? But that's what when you were talking about, I was thinking about that, like that's what that meant. You carry
Yeah,
both. You just carry
yeah,
both, whether you want
yeah.
to accept that or not.
We are one, and then nature decides.
Hmm.
Nature decides, and coming back to like comedic principles, like studying nature, that's why I love being in nature. It makes the most sense to me.
Hmm.
And you see that balance. You see how nature has balanced itself. You see how there is masculine, there's feminine, and there's like everything in between. And it's all part of the one. It's all part of the
It's
source. It's
part of the
all
one.
figured. Yeah, it's all part of that. And you see yourself in that. You see your like this morning, I was at the beach just meditating, and you see the sand, you see the entirety of the sand, you see the entirety of the ocean, and through that cosmic perspective, you realize like, the old you're a drop of the ocean and you're the entirety of the ocean. Like, yeah, it's true. Like we are one drop of the ocean, and that encompasses, and within that one drop contains all of the living elements of the ocean. So I am me, I am Ramses, but I'm also everything else. I'm a part of everything else. And it's just like finding harmony in that. It's seeing yourself in everything that's around you. Um, and being in harmony with that.
I love that. And I can see and I can feel it.
Hey, yeah.
So, with Eric, and like I said, we can be here forever because there's so much to talk about. But here's what I want to say. With all of it
Mhm.
that you've learned, all of it that you have acquired, and one of the things that I love that you're doing is what I love because this is my favorite word in the world is contribution. As you're being given, you're also giving. And the way that you're giving, I know that you have, aside from your practice, I know that you have a retreat coming up in June. So tell everyone and it's for Black men. Oh, is it for Black
Yes,
men or
yes.
is just for it's
No, this one is for Black men. The
okay.
one in June is specifically for Black men.
Okay.
It's about just giving the brothers a place to rest and renew, and that space to breathe. And like me, I said in the beginning, just a space to ask myself some questions like, who am I? Uh, who do I want to be? Where am I going in life? Am I happy? Like, am I happy? Um, do I feel good? Do I feel loved? Am I like all of that? But to ask ourselves those questions, first we need safety. And so that's the foundation of what this retreat is going to be about, is just being in nature and having a safe container for brotherhood and for understanding, for wellness, for conversations of consciousness, for the divine masculine, for the divine feminine, like all of it. And yeah, it's going to be here in Mexico, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's one of the, they had that saying like a man a man without purpose, like where a man has no purpose, abuse is inevitable. And so when a man doesn't have a purpose in his life, a greater purpose, like it's not saying, well, sometimes abuse is going to happen. It says abuse is inevitable. Like it is going to happen. Um, and this is my purpose. And and as long as I have breath, like just being able to share this medicine and wisdom. And I believe like it's so funny. Like after I made this transition of just like wanting to go out in the world and and share just like medicine, like my beard started getting grayer. I think it's part of the part of the program. But yeah, just having the retreat and having a space for the brothers to come together, and it's going to be great. Got a great co-host. He's a beautiful black male therapist, and we're linking up and just having a space for us to breathe and to be there for each other and to just like work out. We can take off the armor. We can take off the armor. We can lay down our swords. Like we don't have to carry these heavy burdens anymore unnecessarily. And so those are a few of the things that we're going to be addressing, and really looking forward to it. It's in the second week in June, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
Amazing. And I'm going to share that information on a caption when I post the video so everybody know where to go
Okay.
to find more
Yeah.
information. Um, this is my last question. This is for the Black men, particularly. If one is listening and they've been wondering, what would you say to them should be their first step? Like, where should they begin this journey within? What would be the first thing that you would say, start here? If they needed to start somewhere, where should they start?
Um, like on the most basic, like the most palatable, most easiest on ramp for a black man to start a journey. There's this book that I travel with. It's called Man, Heal Thyself. And I'll recommend that. Like there's numerous things that somebody could do, but the most like comprehensive, just like here's this book, like just take this and bite size. But it's called Man, Heal Thyself. And I would truly recommend that to any black man, whatever the age. It's a good on-ramp to understanding self, like black male self, to understanding the importance of nutrition, to understanding the importance of the ancestors, to understanding the importance of black women. Um, it's a good start. It's a good start with anything. I don't subscribe to everything 100%. Take what you need. But to answer your question, that would be a good start. That would be a good start. Something else that somebody can do is take take 2 minutes to just sit and breathe. Close your eyes and sit and breathe with your lips closed, inhaling and exhaling through your nostrils, nice and slow. Being conscious of each breath. The breath is one of our most important like functions as human beings. We can go weeks without eating. We can go days without water, but we can only go a very, very, very short time without breath. And so that shows you how important it is. And we've lost the connection with breath. We've lost our understanding of breath and how powerful we can be, and how much life force energy we can truly cultivate through the breath. And I realized as a black man in America, in that society, I had been holding my breath for my entire life. And even as a yoga teacher, breathwork teacher, it wasn't until later on, until I left the States, that I realized this. Even though I was teaching breathwork, like I still did not fully understand, because I was still like like we said in the beginning, in that environment that was poisoning me. Like you can't thrive. And it wasn't until I was truly safe out of it that my soul exhaled, that my spirit exhaled, that my body exhaled, that everything that I had been holding in, like I was able to cry. There were many nights that I was just like bawling and I didn't know why. And it was because I was just able to let go. Truth be told, the first few times that I practiced comedic yoga, I started crying in the middle of practice. And I didn't know why, but it truly felt like the ancestors giving me a hug, saying saying it's okay. You're here now. We've been waiting on you. And then they asked me, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." And it gives me chills. Like I tear up every time I think about that, but it's true. And that feeling right there is why I do what I do,
I
to
love
help others share in that experience.
I love it. And I'm grateful for your existence, for your work, for your courage to go within and say, here, and let me just say this, courage to ask one of the most vital questions that I think it exists in this universe is, why am I here?
It's a scary ass question.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's simple. Yeah,
But it's scary. You're
it
right.
is real. Yeah, it is real. It is life. It's like it shakes your entire existence and what you thought reality was, or who you thought you were, and what you thought this was all about. It's almost like when Neo, I love the movie The Matrix, like
Me
when
too.
Neo woke up and he like saw like what the Matrix really was, and he was like, "What? Yeah, this is where that path will lead you." Um, those kind of, we call them Christ moments, or light bulb moments, where just like life is not the same after. The way you view things is never will be the same. Like the genie's out of the bottle. You can't, or the veil is lifted. And the veil continuously lifts for me in so many different ways. And that's what makes this adventure so enjoyable, is the discovery. Like I loved Indiana Jones growing up too, and I feel like I have this youthful energy of like, what's next? What's next? Oh, I'm gonna go outside and oh, there's monkeys in the trees, and like I'm gonna go and like practice yoga, and ooh, I'm gonna peel back this layer of myself that I didn't know was there, and um, just knowing ourselves. That's what this journey should be about. This life journey is knowing self. It shouldn't be about, making big corporations money, or suppressing who we truly are, or not living our truth, or living our lives for somebody else, or staying in a relationship because we're afraid of being lonely. Like all of this stuff, like it's about knowing who we truly are and taking steps forward, digging deeper, exploring ourselves to our full heights, our full depths, our full widths, all of it, and expanding and never stopping. There's no stopping. And once we truly learn that, we realize how divine we are, and how we're just kings and queens. We're gods and goddesses. We are like we are. We
Yeah,
are. That's it, period. We are.
we are. Ramses, thank you so much for this conversation. I loved it. Definitely want to do a part two or something, a specific topic. But let everybody know where to find you.
Well, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Um, I am Ramses. If you just type that in, and it's Ramses, is Ramsses. And yeah, that's where you can find me. I am not on there a lot. I like doing things just like organically. Like I don't truly advertise a lot or anything like that. Like whoever's supposed to find me finds me. Uh, and I find that's who I truly need to be working with. That's who I truly need to be speaking with. That's who I truly need to be in like coordination with and things like that. And it's worked out well. So yeah, find me out there, and there's not many Ramses operating around, so I'm out there. And
Ramses, thank you. I will make sure that I also list that information on the bottom. And everyone, make sure that you subscribe so that you can get notification of the next episode. And Ramses, again, thank you.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Rafa Said It Here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can get notification of my latest episode. Sending you love.